You are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, in Alameda, California. And what a night to be bi-coastal. I have with me, as guests, two of my boyhood friends and two of my now friends who all lived in apartment 201. Two of us, our families, in one building, and my boyhood friend Mert and his younger brother, Barn, in the next building over in apartment 201. We shared a sitting area in Northridge, in Jackson Heights, New York, and that alone is amazing. But what's really nice is that we all grew up loving baseball, and so I want to start the conversation off with a little icebreaker. We'll go around the room. First of all, I want to introduce Eric Chapman, who was the third tenant in apartment 201 at 3223 91st Street in Jackson Heights, New York. My family was the first. We sold the apartment, moved upstairs. Eric's family bought it. Years later, we found, due to a wonderful internet Facebook reunion site, basically a bunch of folks coming back together from the old neighborhood. And so, Eric, I'm going to ask you first, who was your favorite baseball announcer growing up?
My favorite announcer?
Yeah, your favorite. You of all the guys you heard, maybe on your favorite team, on the Yankees, on the Mets.
I always remember all the Mets announcers growing up. Lindsey Nelson, Ralph Kiner, and Bob Murphy.
Right, I think we heard of those guys. Huh, Bert?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, Ralph.
All right.
Yeah, Ralph Kiner still makes appearances occasionally.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's got every once in a while he comes on for like a half an inning, and he can he has trouble speaking because I think he had a little bout of Bell's palsy for a while, But he still does come on every once in a while. He still got the old stories. He's just unbelievable.
Cool. I like that.
That's kind of, I do too, because I can remember him talking to Choo Choo Coleman back in an afternoon. Do you remember that? Where he'd ask him a question. Yep, right. That was Choo Choo, Clarence Choo Choo Coleman.
He still talks about that. He says, I asked him what his wife's name was. He said, Mrs. Coleman.
That's very, very good. Lindsey Nelson was a much better football announcer than he was a baseball announcer. The way I remember it. He used to do Saturday college games, if I remember correctly, when we were growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and Bob Murphy kind of grew on me after a while. He was a little corny, but he definitely grew on me. Bert?
Yeah. Well, Lindsey Nelson was the only polished guy, really, from those three guys. But it was Mel Allen. It was Mel Allen that I remember as a kid. He was New York. That was because Vin Scully, really blossomed with the L.A. Dodgers, even though he was there in Brooklyn.
Right. And you, Barn, followed the Dodgers when they went to Brooklyn.
Yeah, well, for me, I was only 7 when they moved. So, I followed them really more in L.A. than I did in Brooklyn. So, when they left town with the Giants, the Yankees were the only team around, and so that's what we watched. We watched the Yankees, and Mel Allen was the greatest, so. Right.
Well, he was, but, Red Barber announced for the Yankees a little bit towards certainly at the end of his career. in the late 50s after he and O'Malley clashed.
Right.
And,
they had the three. They had Red Barber, they had Phil Rizzuto, and Mel Allen. That's what I remember.
Right. What a combination. And we have great announcers in the Bay Area as well, one of whom, a fellow by the name of Ken Korak, who's the A's announcer, wrote a book on the late Bill King, who was a three-sport announcer out here and is up for the Hall of Fame. Both of those guys are great on their own right. And last week I got to interview Ken Korak on this air about, it was really cool as hell, about the book he wrote. I knew him. I was for those of you who don't know me real well, and most of you, I was the top scout on the West Coast in the 80s and 90s, signing minor league ball players to baseball card contracts, so Topps would have their permission to use their picture on baseball cards when and if they reached the major leagues. And I got to know this guy when he was announcing E-ball 30 years ago, low minors in the California League, and we talked about that. It was really a very, very cool interview. But you mentioned Bell's palsy. Another great announcer suffered from that. Russ Hodges, who called that shot heard around the world, suffered from that later on in life for a while, at least when he was out here. And his partner was Ron Simmons, who worked with Bill King, who Ken Korak wrote a book about, and a legendary guy. So I think that the announcers that we listen to really shape us in terms of how we feel about the team, and they become friends with us. The voice, day after day, listening to the story, it's almost like these are hard months during the winter when we don't have that yakking going on, at least in the background, all the time, on the radio or whatever. So these are winter days. So let's talk a little apartment 201. We both share the sitting area and a maintenance man in the co-op that we all lived in, right?
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely.
And he would chase Eric years after I went in the Air Force and left. Eric was a little kid trying to be an athlete and using the sitting area as like a steeplechase thing. Am I right?
The sitting area was home base.
Okay, and he chased you out of there. Yeah. All right. So, and
we used to run across roofs. I mean, we ran that place. We went crazy in that area. Back in the 70s. Oh my God. Hey, you know Dave the handyman? He won the lottery.
That's right. That's
in 1977, he won like $50,000 lottery, which is a lot of money, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And he wasn't making top dollar, but he did a valuable service to those mechanically deprived folks like my family who just couldn't change a frickin' light bulb, you know. And he'd come in.
My dad was the complete opposite.
I know. He was
he had like wires and cables running across our bedrooms, and he had shit hanging out the window. He's like, I'm decoding the airwaves, you know. He's like trying to get HBO out of the sky.
Right.
Hi, Eric. Ralph.
Yeah.
Hey. I am getting the worst connection. Does anybody else?
Yeah, my connection ain't that good either.
It sounds robotic, though. It's not that it's bizarre.
It's all breaking up.
It sounds like it's breaking up. It sounds like it's breaking up because you're getting reverberations. But once it goes on MP3, you'll note, and I've done, this is the fourth conference call I've done, that the voices come out really well, and if you could try to ignore that when you're speaking.
I'm just trying to discern what's being said. I don't care. I'm trying to pick through what's being said. I'm not hearing it that well.
Basically, we're just chatting about old-time baseball. Now, you know, Madelon, I know, is a Yankee fan, and not as feverish, of course, as some of us, and more probably than me these days, especially the Yankees, who I've got this love-hate relationship for. They were so entertaining. Later in life, I realized just how great they really were. Who is your favorite announcer, Madelon, if you have one? Madelon Chapman.
I don't know that I have a favorite announcer. I mean, you guys. I was catching. We were talking about Phil Rizzuto earlier.
Right. Well,
I'm more actually involved with. I mean, I don't remember my favorite announcer from back then. I wasn't even.
Hey, Ralphie, she used to play.
Following
used to be her against all the boys in punchball in the sitting area. My sister would take on the whole crew of boys by herself.
She's an athlete.
Very athletic.
Yeah. That's a good female role model. Something, you know, it's just come to equality.
She used to take off after every time I get beat up or ripped off. I'd come home and tell her, "Fucking Sapio ripped me off," and she would go, "Ooh, that motherfucker," and she'd go out into the street looking for Sapio.
Did I really say that? Wow, we were really taught how to speak in our apartment. It's like everybody in the building spoke that way.
Apartment 201, yes.
No, I mean, just that was a crazy neighborhood. That was a crazy, crazy building.
That was the best neighborhood. You know, did you have
Madelon, you're getting a late introduction.
I gotta hear one at a time.
Let me introduce you to not only the audience, Madelon Chapman, another 201 residents in the building that I grew up in, and the first apartment in that building that I grew up in. But Marty Rose, Bernie Rose, who are called Mert and Bart, were city and have been for 50 years. They lived in apartment 201 in the next building over. Marty was my first friend. Did you have Miss Devlin in the first grade, Marty?
Yeah, Mrs. Lockwood in the first grade.
And Ross in the second grade, am I right?
Ross in the second grade. Mm-hmm.
And we both had Ross in the second grade. That's how far back we go in the same class. And I remember when Marty in the sixth grade, I think we both had Nitobe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Did you go to 127 at that point, or they weren't busing?
No, there was not busing.
No, there was no busing.
So you were still in the building 148?
Yeah, 148, right around the corner.
No, that's not where we were after the second grade. That was it. Okay, I'm just
that was the second grade school. We have Miss Hawkins in there.
I know, but they're about 10 years before us. I just want to get the history. It's very interesting to me how things evolved, even in that short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting on that Facebook reunion site about Jackson Heights, your second grade teacher was talked about, beloved in the people commenting, and I talked about Miss Ross and Linda Kaplan, who's
pharmacy. She was Sid Kaplan's daughter, right?
What's Mr. Kaplan's first name? I can't think of his name.
Sid. Wasn't that Sid?
Sid was it was Sid and the other guy. Sid was the other guy, the short little guy. I worked there for a long time.
That's right, Sid you did.
And Madelon, you showed a picture on there of the cuticle scissors that you got from Bright Pharmacy. My family had the same identical cuticle scissors.
Well, not manicure scissors for cutting babies' fingernails.
Right. Well, yes, but they would pass as cuticle scissors if you weren't a baby anymore, correct?
No, well, I don't actually know about. They're really the manufacture of them. If you look at them.
Okay,
you wouldn't use them on an adult. You wouldn't use them. They look like baby. I don't see many scissors like that anymore. They were made in They were
anyway, we have great pharmacy.
That is too funny, Ralph. I could picture those guys' faces right now that you brought it up.
I can picture them.
It was Leo, right?
Leo.
Sid.
Yes.
That's
Leo
great.
and Sid.
That's unbelievable.
That's so. I can
Did
picture
you work
it.
Yep. Or Barn?
What's that?
Did you guys deliver for them as well?
No, I never worked for them.
I did.
think my brother did. Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Did you really? All right.
Yeah.
It was a great job. It was an absolute. You dust in. To stay busy, you dust a little bit, and then you'd go downstairs and read all the material about growing up, the medicine stuff, right? And then come up, stock the shelves, and you'd go out and you'd ride on the bicycle on a beautiful spring day, and I'd sing Beatles songs to myself as I'd drive along with the transistor radio, early Beatles songs. It was a good neighborhood to grow up in. Am I right? Do I get a consensus?
At that time, it was great. Yeah.
At that time, I'm with. Is that Marty?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, at one point, it did start to change a little bit. I remember being frightened coming home at night. But in the when you're talking about it, it was. I guess it's close to idyllic.
Well, we were in high school. I graduated. Me and Ralph graduated in 1964. So.
Oh, you were in there in a beautiful time then. You were just
just like a different time.
I mean, 10 years before that, my grandmother said there was farmland. My grandmother used to go to Jackson Heights when the co-ops were farm.
Mm-hmm. Well, no farmland when the handyman was chasing us out of the sitting area, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, there was
no really weird when you got into the late 60s and early 70s. I mean.
Yeah, Southridge was just a bunch of dirt. There was no buildings there.
Yeah, isn't it?
I remember when they built them. Yeah, there was nothing there beforehand.
There was a baseball field across Northern Boulevard around 93rd Street. There's a baseball field where the Blessed Sacrament used to play baseball, a high school team.
And right next door to that, they used to have the fair come around with the Ferris wheels every now and again. With
really? Yeah, that was not. It was definitely not rural. Like we didn't have that.
Hey Ralph, did you ever ride your bike down to Killy Pond?
Oh, all the time. Mert and I would ride our bikes. Do you remember we'd go down Roosevelt Avenue to Flushing, right through the middle?
Yeah.
Oh, we were near a pond, Killy Pond.
Yeah, where the Grand Central Parkway is. There was no Grand Central Parkway.
Right.
It was down by the airport. Yeah, going down
that Boulevard, right there, right outside the airport.
Mm-hmm.
It was like country right there in Jackson Heights. I was like 6 years old. I used to ride down there with my brother, and on that little blue bike I had. Remember, man? And we'd catch frogs and tadpoles. And then they took it all out when they built the Grand Central Parkway.
It changed quickly then in a decade because it changed a lot then.
Yeah, it was a very, very good neighborhood, and it just went. I don't know what caused it to go downhill.
A lot.
A lot.
Want to get it. A lot of things, but it happened quickly. It wasn't like a slow evolution. As soon as you still had it when it was utopic. Well, close to you.
I was amazed. When I came back on leave and I found out they were busing, that absolutely amazed me.
That changed the character of a lot of things. I mean, the times were changing, though. Well, the times, they were changing, but they really were. I mean, there were hippies shooting up in the sitting area. I don't even know where they came from. Well, the sitting area wasn't locked at that time. I was afraid to walk from building to building. And there's Vietnam vets returning. It was not the same as what you're remembering. I have.
We would hang out in the schoolyard. The schoolyard between 90th and 90. Between 90th and 89th.
Yeah, the playground.
Some wonderful pictures about it.
That's a
big played basketball, stickball, everything. Touch football all the time.
Man, I love playing stickball.
It was, I mean, we had fun. The athletic part of growing up was fun, and the park was still good for that. it also was housed by the Latin Tops at a certain point in the 70s.
They stole my bicycle.
I'm telling you, it was like a small town in the middle of Queens, which was in the middle of New York. It was really a community of folks that you don't, because it was a co-op, and because we were literally all in the same boat. It was post-war. It was just a great time. The 50s were in terms of the. In retrospect, it wasn't a great time economically or anything else, but it was a time of hope. And post-war was tremendous, and life was booming, and then came along that change in the entire city. I think it wasn't just Jackson Heights that went down. It was basically, and it coincided with the leaving of those two baseball teams. It really did break the heart of a lot of folks in the city, especially Brooklyn. It just destroyed the spirit of the city. That's what I'm thinking. So
that's one way to look at it. I might probably
Ralph,
I think it just coincided, but I do remember, even as being a little kid, the devastation that the Dodgers had left. I don't think anybody cared about the Giants, but the Dodgers left Brooklyn.
I'm not as amused by that as you went there. Yes, we cared quite a bit, and still do. And I'm saddened I lost. Yes, but it wasn't the same. It really wasn't. There was something in Brooklyn that, the players were in the neighborhood. They would shop where everybody else shopped, and they had little cliques of players that hung together, and it was community. And it was at a time when people grew up in Brooklyn, born, lived, worked, educated, never left the frickin' borough at times in their lives, except to go to Rockaway or Aqueduct or whatever.
Well, if the city would have given Walter O'Malley the property that he wanted down by Atlantic Avenue, he never would have moved. So
right.
all those years later, what's there now? In that exact spot. The Barclays Center.
For the Nets.
Really?
For the Nets play.
Isn't that right?
Exactly the spot where all the Long Island Railroad comes in and every subway line goes by.
That's what he wanted. Exactly.
Yep.
And they were giving him the world in L.A. They gave him the land around in
well, it became too great to refuse, but it was all Robert Moses. He just wasn't going to do it, and he had total control.
Yep.
Right. He was the planning some commissioner, roads or this or that.
Exactly. And he was in charge of all that, and he was not going to let them have it.
Right, and he really pulled the strings with Wagner at that time.
Yeah.
With Mayor Wagner, Robert Moses.
Yes.
Yeah.
And ironically,
they offered the same spot where the Mets put Shea Stadium, but he didn't want to go to Queens. He wanted to. Yeah.
So ironically, I don't have a team for 5 years. I followed the Giants as an apologist all that time. The Mets come into being. 3 years later, I'm in the Air Force, stationed in California, following the Mets long distance, and having the Giants right there for the next 40 years. So life is strange. Baseball was strange. And I have the A's, too. I've become attached to the A's in the American League. And so it hasn't
you lived
been
in
all
Oakland
that.
for a long time.
Yeah, I've been in the Northern California, in the East Bay for many years. I lived in Sacramento for a while, which is about 90 miles east of the Bay Area.
I remember that. We came and we saw you in Sacramento years ago.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And Mert came and saw me when I lived in Danville, which is another suburb of the Bay Area, when I was a straight working guy, and those were many years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. It goes back, I think we're talking 30 years ago, Mert, huh?
More than that.
More than that.
I hate to tell you.
Definitely.
I've been in Florida for 25 years already.
Oh, wow. Hey, you, Barn, I remember you driving cab in New York and hearing stories that were unbelievable from the Bear about some of the things you had to go through.
Right. Well, yeah, there were some crazy things, no doubt.
You got any cab stories that you want to share? I always love. Ronnie Erster was on and told some wonderful cab stories. I love cab stories. You want to tell me one that'll interest me and everybody else?
It's been a long time. You know, I mean, I did some crazy things myself, you know, but I can't believe some of the things that happened, but some of the things that you actually let happen. One comes to mind was that I let these two guys shoot heroin in the back seat of the cab. They're back there with a spoon, with a flame.
How did they ask you? Did they say, do you mind if I smoke? No, you can't smoke in here. Well, then can I do heroin? Would that be okay?
You know, and that's something that I never had anything to do with. But,
right.
I mean,
I
sized them up. They seemed all right. You know, I said, hey, go ahead, do what you want to do. So we pulled over, and these guys are back there with the needle and the spoon, if you want to quote Neil Young, you know. But
well,
to this day, I really can't believe I actually let them do that. But
were you not stabbed? Am I remembering correctly all these years?
I got robbed one time, right in Jackson Heights.
Really?
I was almost done for the night. I was going to be done. I figured I'd cruise by the hack stand at 74th and Broadway and Roosevelt Avenue over there one time, and there were no cabs. These three guys got in the car, and normally I would have had the shield closed, but because I was basically going to be going home, I had it open. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and the next thing I know, I have a knife at my throat down around 30th Avenue and 70-something Street. And so I just said, hey, let's be cool, you know, take the knife off my throat. He didn't really take it away. He kept it near my throat. And then the one guy gets in the front of the cab, and I gave him the money. I said, hey, take it. You could have the money, you could have the car. Just let's forget about the knife. So they said, all right, get out of the car. And as I got out of the car, he lunged at me, and he caught me in the back. But luckily, it was in a place where nothing really happened. No bad damage. I went to the hospital, you know, to get cleaned up and make sure everything was okay. But, you know, I was more pissed off than hurt, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't a pleasant experience.
We're going to change the subject, bring it up a little bit. Growing up in New York is not always great, but let's talk music. Eric, you're a drummer, am I right?
Not really, just a hack.
Well, no.
Hack drummer.
We don't want modesty. What I'd like, if not tonight, what I'd like is Jen, another Jackson Heightser who plays music. Madelon plays music. You play the drums. Barn, you're in a band, in a blues band in Florida, and I was telling you on the phone a couple of weeks ago how my vivid boyhood memories when you guys first got a piano and Mert and I would sit and listen to you rehearse back then. So what I'd like to get together and have like a 201 jam session. Probably it won't be tonight, I can assure you of that.
How is that going to happen, on the telephone?
Yeah, you just play your music into the telephone. This thing,
You can't jam on a phone. Jam on.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
You'll be able.
Do you jam on the phone? Do you jam on the phone with other people? Yes.
Yes, you can. You just.
I can actually even do real-time Skyping when I'm working with a friend. I don't even find that to be easy, but just putting down the phone and jamming with other musicians. Okay.
Other musicians, and it'll pick up on this thing. It's called conference calling. If anybody out there wants to pick up on.
I can barely even hear what everybody's saying with this robotic sound. Well, I guess we could just see random, see how just throw in and see what the formula shuffles, kind of thing.
Well, it's actually gotten better. I've been hearing better over the last.
Yeah, it's gotten better, somewhat.
Good.
Yeah, it's getting better, Ralphie boy.
All right, I'm doing
Ralphie.
Yes, sir. You know, Norton. We watched the same programs. You're lucky enough to have Hulu.
I would sit up and watch the Honeymooners every night.
Too,
I mean,
right?
I couple Honeymooners.
Right.
And you can hear in my living room. You can hear when people are dumping crap down the incinerator room chute.
And we all heard the whir of that elevator coming up and going down.
Yeah.
Coming up and going down.
I was This is a pretty good building. I used to practice running track in the building. I used to play indoor hockey on my skates in the building.
The skating floor was terrific.
I used to blow off firecrackers in the building. They would just echo. I mean, I'd run back into the house. Dogs would be barking.
Yeah, the hallway would be a great place for a jam.
The hallway was
really
great, man.
It was a good hallway.
And it was just big enough.
I used to run up on rooftops. I mean, it was just... Elm Jack Little League. You guys play Elm Jack Little League?
Mert and I tried out for it. Remember that, Mert?
We tried back then.
We tried out. No, Mert had a great... No, that wasn't it. I'm telling you, in those days, you and I tried out. You had a really good tryout. If you didn't make it, no one should have made it. I had a mediocre tryout. I didn't make it. You didn't make it, which made me feel better about not making it. You should have made it. I'm still pissed.
You had a tryout for Little League?
Yeah,
we had tryouts too.
Wow. There was
the lines
was so long.
Yeah.
Oh, that
there too.
You can't imagine the number of kids there were when we were growing up.
It was unbelievable.
It was a lot.
I'm glad you told me that, Mert, because
we all played Elm Jack, all of us, the whole crew.
I was in Elm Jack. I don't remember trying out.
Yeah, she played for the Rubies.
Everybody played by that.
Played for the Elm Jack. Yeah, Elm Jack Rubies.
Yeah, you played some.
I still have that trophy.
I was always with the Russo family. I was the Cardinals. I was as I aged out of every division, the Russos. I kept going up with the Russos, so I kept getting picked by them. Benny and Dolly Russo, and I played with his boy Anthony.
What street was the park?
My trophies and everything, man. I got all that crap.
I have the trophy. I'm gonna put it online.
You and Steve, huh?
I have the trophy in my shelf.
I got my trophies.
What was that?
I got my baseball cards. I got some cards.
Would you guys send me?
We didn't make it is because our fathers could not help out. I know.
Well,
you mean like the coaching or whatever, like that? You mean?
Yeah. Our fathers were not available to help out. With the.
I don't think my mother even knew that. Did our parents even know that we were on Little League? Well, you do know you because I just posted a picture of you. I just posted a picture of you at Little. I don't know.
Yeah, mommy would scream. I was a leadoff batter, and I was always clubbing them, getting on base, stealing, and mommy was
really good. Eric's a really good Eric's a phenomenal athlete.
Mert and Barn were good athletes, very, very good athletes too. I remember coming back on leave and watching you play competitive softball and tearing up your leg, Barn. Do you remember that?
Not really. We used to play. We used to play softball. We had this weekly thing out there.
Oh yeah, people just showed up. Yeah, every weekend.
Stevie and Artie Shapiro used to play. I don't know if you remember.
Artie Field. Yeah, I do. Remember.
Was it Queens? Where the heck was that?
Out by Union Turnpike or something. I don't even remember where.
Yeah,
somewhere out in that area. Maybe it was closer to Queens Boulevard.
Yeah.
All right, when you guys were growing up, was Ford up the street
used to
or dealership?
Because I played the Air Force competitive, you know.
You did? I didn't even know that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Who did? You did, Mark?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I played on an intramural team down at Kelly Air Force Base, and then I also made the base team. I was good enough to make the base team where we played other military installations in the area down there.
Yeah, we did that at Travis too. I would go out and watch these guys, and I didn't go out for it for one reason or another. But very, very cool, Mert, that you got to play.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, the one thing I became decent at is hitting tennis balls, which is something that I took to. Remember Mert, my uncle? We both had, Mert and I, and Barn, we had great uncles, and you guys did too. And you had great aunts. Your aunts were terrific. You had some pictures up the other day, Madelon. So we had siblings of our parents who were influences. Mert Barnes' uncle was a sports writer. Marty Rose was a prominent sports writer, wrote about the Olympics, wrote books and magazines, and
absolutely big boxing guy too.
Yeah, yeah. And my uncle was a young merchant marine captain at the time when in World War II. He was the youngest merchant marine captain ever. And remember going to the Y with him and the
Yeah, remember that.
But the Flushing Y?
We went
Meadows
to the Y? Mert and I went to the Flushing Meadows Y every Saturday, no swim, no gym. When we were very young, going on the bus, but we go to McBurney Y in the city on 23rd Street, I think it was, and we'd have pretty much empty. We could shoot all day and run around the track and swim and play paddle ball. The YMCA programs are tremendous out here. Living in motorhomes and camper vans for the last 15, 20 years, Ys and 24-hour fitnesses have been a godsend for me. So,
the Y, when my daughter was turning 13, I knew I wasn't going to be able to leave her at home for the summer. The younger daughter, not the older. I knew she wouldn't stay home for the summer. I wouldn't be able to work. So I got a really good deal through the Y. I forgot what street, all the way upper Manhattan. I had to drop her off there. And they took the kids to we're near the Delaware Water Gap. They had a whole big camp thing, and I got her to camp for the whole summer.
Oh wow!
It was pretty good price. I mean, better than probably other camps would be. The Y is a great resource. I taught Zanny. I gave him swim lessons there when he was starting from babyhood.
Zanny
too. Right, in East Hampton we have a Y. Zanny started baby lessons when he was about a year old.
For those of you who don't know, you get to raise your grandchild hands-on, and you are the youngest grandmother I ever met in my life.
Seriously? I had a friend who became a grandmother at 36.
I don't know. I don't mean just she became one at 36, but she wasn't as young as you were in her 40s without having met her. You're young and vibrant.
She's pretty.
And all that
fun.
stuff.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I mean, better. It's just probably just because parents are starting at these. I mean, the parents in Sag Harbor are in their 40s. I started at a different
I
was life, so I'd already had my whole. I'm the oldest standing member of the PTA.
Well, I was the. I played the role of Mr. Mom, and I would sit in the park with the other breeders. And we just chat, and we were breeders, is what we were, and we were I was treated as a woman because of my role in life, and I got to be a feminist as a result. People who raise children don't get the credit either from their spouses or from, in my case, my mother couldn't see me doing that. She was just appalled that I would sit home and blah, 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 and have fun and do nothing, quote, unquote, as if raising a child is doing nothing. And I got a real taste.
Well, I worked when I was raising my daughters, so it was like I would have rather not have. I would have rather just gone to work all the time than somebody take care of my kids, because coming home and taking care of kids was, especially when they become teenagers. To me, babies are not hard. I don't find that difficult.
I thought my girl had to throw mean hanging curveballs and shit like that.
I think that, I don't think that. I found it to be idyllic. Going to work was fun. I'd come home and cook for them. Yeah, I'll tell you, teenagers, I
put my girls in the batting cage, and the guys standing around with their jaws dropped. I mean, they're creaming them in the fast pitch. Creaming them.
Well, that's it there. Your daughters are really strong. But I mean, as far as raising them when they're teenagers, that was hellish. That was not, that drained all the energy. That's a good thing I did it young, because it would have killed me now.
Claire's got a nasty slap shot, a nasty wrist shot. I mean, I had to get goalie equipment to play with her in the driveway. She was like headhunting.
Yeah, well, you have muscles in there's definitely muscles in the family.
Your mother has, to this day, she's in Florida, has your legs. I mean, great legs.
It's a weird leg. I asked her where it came from.
At Ebbets Field, man. Mommy was a ticket holder at Ebbets.
Who was?
She has Grandma Shirley. I know. It's weird. She's even crossing her legs in the same. Genetics are what they are.
Yeah, Mommy was a ticket holder.
She doesn't have varicose veins. She's definitely got Mommy's legs. She was a dancer. She was very physical. She was doing that fast walking until she had to have a bypass. She wouldn't even have that on them. Yeah, it wasn't on our radar. We didn't, because she's always taken such good care of her health.
Right.
But I mean, I blame it on certain foods and margarines and things that were concocted in the.
You want to say, real quick, maybe, with your indulgence, Merton Barn, give our audience a little food thing. We've been talking about what's going on with GMOs and what have you. What can we do to assure that our families and ourselves eat properly and avoid some of the pesticides, this, that, and the other thing? And
well, as far as that goes, I'll give you the basic stuff. I can't give you the whole dietary program, but just saying avoiding pesticides. Well, you just don't. You should try to keep your food organic. I mean, that's it. That's what I default to it because that's what I recognize that if it's certified organic, it's recognized not having. And I might grow my own food and it doesn't have pesticides. If that's what you're talking about, and make sure that the food you get is non-GMO. That's.
Grow your own pot.
Hormone-free
there you go.
meat, and
hormone-free. You could go to places like Wildlife Nature. You don't have to have lots of meat, but if you're going to meat. When I have my red meat, when I have it is bison, and that's a treat. That's like it's an indulgence, and it's expensive, but I can make that into a really large meatloaf, which can also be meatballs and other things. And it's a good for if you have to have a meat. It's a good for you meat. It's got a lot of B vitamins and other vitamins and nutrients, so it's chock full of stuff.
And if you really don't,
I got to hear one person at a time.
All right, let me just ask, if you really don't want to eat meat, but you recognize the need to get protein, what would you recommend?
Yeah, I don't eat meat all the time anyway. I mean, I have a complement of different things. Like I have raw pumpkin seeds. Vegetables do have protein. I think people think they need more protein than they do. But I have different nuts, and I have nut butters. Beans. I don't have a lot of beans in my diet, but I do have beans. I have some cheese. I have a little yogurt. I don't eat lots and lots of dairy, but I do eat it. I'm not a vegan. I'm not really even a vegetarian. I'm just primarily. Red foods are really good for you, the carotenoids. And if you're going to have a piece of salmon, get a wild Alaskan salmon. It's really good for you. But if you're not going to have any of that...
Send me some dietary pictures so I can put them up on the slideshow. And, Barn, I want you to tell me about JC Crossfire, the group you're in Florida. It's a blues group, and you're on a list of a top 40 kind of list in Florida. You want to tell us about that?
Well, we're on the radio. It's 16 straight weeks now on the Roots and Blues music charts for radio play in the state of Florida. We've been as high as number 4. We're number 11 with the chart that just came out this weekend. But we've been in the top 20 for 16 straight weeks. We were number 1 in Montreal, Canada, a couple of weeks back. We're being played in many states. We're being played in Europe and Australia. We're getting a lot of radio play. So it's a lot of fun.
It's cool or what, huh?
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, very nice. And you can play for a while. See, it's my whole thing. If one doesn't have a dream, something to live for, and to wake up for, something like this, life can be very, very mundane. And so you came back to playing. How'd you guys get together in Florida?
Well, I just started playing again, roughly 10 years ago, and I've been in a few different bands. So there's a big music community down here. There's a South Florida Blues Society, and we know a lot of people, and so we all run across each other at certain events and things like that. And I met JC last year through a friend of mine, a harmonica player, originally from the New Orleans area, Mississippi, right outside of New Orleans. But he knew that JC was looking for another keyboard guy, and now it's almost 2 years already. So it's just been fun, I really didn't expect to be doing this again, let alone for the last 10 years. I've played a lot of gigs in the last 10 years, and it's been a ball. We're having a blast.
That's very cool. Hey, Mert, do you remember you and we used to go to your friend Phil's house in Flushing and harmonize. You guys would harmonize. You made me move my lips because I sung so poorly.
Wow. I
remember
can't
that?
believe you remember us. We were really young back then in those days.
I know. We were like 10 or 11 years old, and we were singing doo-wop.
Yeah, probably more like about 14, 15. So I never even met those guys in Flushing until I was, I think, 14 or so.
Oh, I thought that was about the time we were going to the Flushing Y on Saturdays.
No, it was after that.
Oh, okay. Well, see, I don't have that great a memory anyway. Hey, listen, this has been terrific. Let's make it a regular thing where we all get on. I would love to hear some jamming. My Facebook friend and Maddie's friend, Jen at Jackson Heights. Did she live in Northridge, Maddie?
No, I think Jen was born in Jackson Heights, and then they moved to Lefrak City. Or no, they moved to Northport, I think, and then they lived in Lefrak City for a little while. She wasn't, and then Mamaroneck. She wasn't at Jackson Heights I think she was just born in Jackson Heights. I don't think she's actually.
Well, being born in Jackson Heights, she is qualified to jam.
She's qualified to jam because she's one of the most talented people I've ever known. That's
she's
really qualified to jam. But I don't think she'd want to jam into a telephone receiver.
Oh, okay. Well, then she won't. Maybe
she
did give me permission. She's the most talented, one of the most talented photographers I know, and she gave me permission to use her pictures on some scenes from New York. She's a tremendous talent in that respect. But I'd like to hear how that would sound, just because I think it would be cool, and it certainly would be unique. You got.
Well, it would be that. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be able to. If you're going to be able to hear the other people.
I think. I think everybody's going to be able to just jam into it, and it'll come out. But we'll plan on that someday.
We'll see how it works out. Absolutely.
We'll see how. All right, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll. It's just a little.
You put it on, Mon. You could Skype. So you could possibly Skype something like this. I mean, if you're serious. But with the telephone receiver and playing what you think you hear, I could barely hear you guys talking.
I'm telling you, it is recording, and I will put this up within the next day or so. As soon as
I believe you, but a musician needs feedback.
But you'll hear it. I know.
While they're doing it, not after it's been recorded. Okay, Rob.
It will sound crude, I know, but. You know, I'm a dreamer, and I'm always tilting it with Mills, one way or the other. So this has been fun. We'll do it again, I hope. Thanks for making it a great segment. And I'm going to sign off, and I want to tell the people to keep your humor dry and your dreams wet, and keep your kids away from military recruiting stations, and off the laps of clerics that wear dresses. And life will be very good. You could all keep on keeping on. Thanks for sharing this time. Comfortably zoned from Alameda, from Sag Harbor, from Staten Island, from where in Florida, Barn?
Well, Tamarack, right outside of Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, you're right next to my mom. My mother is there. My mother's in Tamarack.
Well, there you go.
Tamarack? Wow, she's in Trent Drive.
We're all together, and Eric's in Syracuse, New York. So
yeah, you got bombed with snow.
You already got snow? You're going to beat Buffalo this year, aren't you, in most snow again?
Every year, man.
All right. That's what I root for. I don't root for the Mets anymore as much as I root for Syracuse beating Buffalo in snow.
Hey, do you see Michael Carter Williams with Philadelphia now?
I know that. How many touchdowns did he score the other day?
What? Oh, he's a basketball player, man.
Oh, no. Somebody from Syracuse scored 5 touchdowns. Am I right about that?
I don't know about that.
I don't know. It runs together. I'm an old man with
lost yesterday to Pitt, 17-16. But our basketball team, I mean, we're not in the Big East no more. We're in the ACC. You know that.
That doesn't seem right. That's a lot of things don't seem
right.
But
they did it. I mean, we got SU is on TV now. I mean, they got more money. We're not going to have, like, I'm going to miss the SU-Georgetown, rivalry. But now we got Duke. We got Duke coming up. I mean, they're already putting out Duke shirts. SU beat Duke, you know. Duke is coming to the Loud House.
Duke's tough this year.
What's that?
Duke is good this year.
Go Syracuse.
No, he said Duke is good this year.
Duke is good every year. When is Duke not good?
I thought we were talking football.
Oh, yeah, Duke's doing good in football, too. I'm talking basketball.
Never good in football, but there's something like 8-2 this year.
Duke is doing real good in football this year, really good. Yeah, I mean, they're putting a program together. We were just getting it together, and then our coach left to go. He got a deal with Buffalo Bills, so we lost Doug Marrone, and so now we got Scott Schaefer. I like him. He's like a hard-nosed, blue-collar guy, and we did a lot better than they predicted. I mean, they predicted us to go winless and in the bottom, so we finished about right in the middle of the pack. But all the teams that smoked us in football, Florida State, Clemson, we couldn't hang with them. We're going to play them in basketball, and we're going to do the complete opposite to them, what they did to us in football. Mm-hmm. It's going to be cool. We got Clemson coming to the Dome.
Well, still playing St. John's in the Garden at least one more time this year. So.
Yeah, I missed the St. John's games. The whole Big East was built around Syracuse, and
UConn too.
Syracuse left. There's no more Big East. I mean, there's nothing left of it. ACC is good for football, but basketball, when it comes tournament time, we're used to going to the Garden.
Yeah.
Carmelo Anthony, Jerry McNamara, they lit that place up. We're going to be going down to North Carolina now. It's not that. It'll take a lot of getting used to. We still got a good team, though. We still got Jimmy Boeheim on the bench.
Yeah, he came back for another year. That surprised me. I thought he would not come back for some reason.
Oh, he's got a few more years in him. I mean, he always talks about it. I mean, it's just every year he's like thinking he's done, but then when it's getting time for practices to start up again, I mean, this is what his wife was saying. He can't sit home. He's got to go back out there with the boys. I mean, it's Jim Boeheim Court now is the basketball court. It's called Jim Boeheim Court, and he's the man. He's the man. He is the man. Rick Pitino learned under Jimmy Boeheim. That's who Rick Pitino cut his teeth with was Jim Boeheim. When Rick Pitino was here in Syracuse, he lived with the Boeheims.
He coached the Knicks for a little while, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, yeah. And he had that point guard with him that just didn't pan out when he went pro. Little black guy.
When you guys were growing up, there was the Ford showroom up the street on Northern Boulevard?
Yes, absolutely. Remember, Mert? Yeah, absolutely.
That's where we used to play stickball, up on 91st Street at the corner. And 92nd Street and Chemical Bank on 93rd Street. That was, that was the home run ball if you could get it up on the roof of Chemical Bank there. But they would come out and they'd be like, Jerry Grody's coming. The Mets or the Jets would come to buy a car, so the guys that worked there would alert us to let us know. Jerry Grody rolled up with his Texas hat on.
The police station in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had Matt Snell, Emerson Boozer come to that to get a car from Ford showroom. We'd run up there, get autographs.
Very cool. Very cool. I remember when the 56 Fords came out on the corner. I was 10 years old, and and Christ was a corporal. I remember that at that time. But them's were the days.
Yeah, they were.
Hey, I want to ask Barn a question. Do you have an affinity for the Miami team in baseball, the Marlins at all?
Well, a little bit, not much. I mean, they've taken the life out of that organization like 2 or 3 times already. Nobody cares anymore, So
that's horrible. They got a new ballpark out of it, and they still sell off play. That's horrible.
Yeah, they kind of ruined the whole town for baseball, really. But winning turns things around, so you never know.
Absolutely. Hey, guys, gals, I loved it. This was fun for me. Thanks for being here. I'm going to turn the little thing off, and I'll send you links. And
good. We'll be in touch.
We'll be in
Ralph.
touch.
We'll do it again.
Please send me as many pictures for the slides, Syracuse pictures, cooking pictures, anything to enhance the interviews, because the chatting, because it really was fun and interesting, and I enjoyed it. Thank you all for being here. Good night, everybody, and good smoking or good token or good whatever you're doing.
Take care.
I don't even know what to say. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, good night.
So now what?